Evening, darlings, and welcome to the very first flight of the Lois Perry Show, A Bird's Eye View. Yes, the eagle has landed, though in my case it's more like a slightly glamorous Essex pigeon with a taste for trouble. This isn't your usual perch and prattle, oh no. This bird dives straight for the shiny stuff, nicks it and shows it to you before the establishment can hide it away. Every week I'll be swooping over the headlines, circling the spin, and then dropping, well, let's just say a few truth bombs in all the right places. Tonight, live in the studio, is the legal eagle himself, Barrister Stephen Barrett, here to tell us exactly how the woke brigade are trying to pull our constitutional knickers down whilst we're looking the other way. And later, flying in virtually from up north, is the no-nonsense, straight-talking Twitter terror herself, June Slater, ready to ruffle more feathers than a fox in a chicken's feather coop. We'll be tackling the censorship machine, try saying that after a large glass of Chardonnay, the deep state civil service, and asking if Britain's now a two-tier aviary, one rule for the flashy peacocks and another for the rest of us humble sparrows. So, fasten your seatbelts, fluff your feathers, and keep your eyes on the skies, because tonight, my loves, the eagle has landed. Stephen Barrett, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Thank you for joining me on the maiden voyage of the Lois Perry Bird's Eye View.
Well, you are, in all honesty, Lois, one of the nicest people I know. So how could I say?
Well, say that. Tell me what you think at the end of the show. Having you on the show is such an honour. And you came on an original show of mine, a Talk TV, that I did with Andre Walker. That was The Woke That Was, and you were brilliant. Do you remember doing that?
That's very kind. Yes, I've been honoured to do an awful lot of media. I am worried, and I get terribly worried, that law is becoming something that other people do.
Yeah.
That normal people aren't supposed to think about.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy. Okay?
No.
That's turning ordinary people effectively into children.
Yeah.
So your children, and mummy and daddy, who are the lawyers, they know best, and they'll tell you what you can and can't do. That's a really unhealthy way for a society to live.
Especially when the legal system, the legal profession, like so many of our institutions, and we'll talk about this today, have been captured. They've been captured I don't think it's an extreme thing to say, cultural Marxists.
No, I don't. I think it's about time that we start to realise that things we all started to think 10 years ago, but said, oh dear, we can't possibly say this. Now actually needs saying.
Yeah.
Whether it's deliberate or accidental, I still think is up for debate.
Really?
I think so, and I don't really mind whether it's deliberate or accidental. It's wrong.
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
wrong.
so
June Slater, who's on later on in about half an hour, she does not think it's accidental.
Well,
so we can have a debate. We can talk about that.
We can talk about that.
Yeah.
And one of the things that the people who still want desperately to control you will tell you is that you mustn't indulge in conspiracy theories. Now,
that's just a way of shutting us down, isn't it?
Yes. And frankly, there are points to be made about that. One, it's perfectly rational for humans to come up with conspiracy theories because that's how our brains work. We see stuff, we hear stuff, we try and create some rationality for it. That does mean sometimes that we think the volcano's angry at us when the volcano's not angry at us. But that doesn't mean that we're inherently evil or mean. We're just trying to rationalise the world that we live in, and it's perfectly normal to try and rationalise our world. The second point on conspiracy theories in particular is that the left and the elite indulge in them all the time.
Do they ever?
Oh well, it's so absolutely blatant that the hypocrisy is galling. You and I both know what London looks like because we went through it to get here.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
And I had to go through central London, so I went through quite a lot.
Well, I live here.
Rot. Well, yeah, you bless
I live in quite a nice bit, though. I'm a bit sheltered.
Well, bless you, but I think so do the delusional people. But I went through central London, so I saw nothing but graffiti and litter, and it's dirty. It's physically dirty.
It is.
There is the threat of crime. There are mattresses on the street. To get from my station to another a rival media brand, I had to walk through an area where they were literally having open fires and cooking on open fires in the streets.
You're joking. I tell you what, it's interesting what you said about certain people living in certain areas that are delusional. I'm very fortunate to live in Belsize Park, and I went for a little walk the other day, and I went round the corner to Belsize Lane, and I thought, this is like a Richard Curtis film. And it's very lovely, and I feel very privileged and very lucky and all of that. But of course these people are woke. Of course they're lefties. With inherited houses, and they pop out, and it's like, it's like a Channel 4, film comedy, and of course they're going to be delusional. The only thing that happens in terms of mass migration for them is they get cheaper Deliveroo, cheaper dry cleaning, and all of the above. It doesn't affect them at all. But going back to what you were saying about kids being adults being like kids in terms of the law, let's talk about something quite interesting. So the International Criminal Court, the ICJ, has basically said that has green-lighted enormous climate reparations to be sought from the UK, leaving the UK open to being sued by other countries. Now, this is a non-binding advisory opinion, but my fear is, Stephen, our Prime Minister is so woke and so nutty and so determined to deindustrialise the UK and basically ruin us, that he'll go for this nonsense. What do you think? And why are they doing this if it's not binding?
Well, I think the first point I want to make is that it's perfectly natural to slip up. So you said the International Criminal Court and then the ICJ.
Sorry.
I think it's deliberately confusing. I think it's meant to be deliberately confusing. The letters ECHR...
The International Court of Justice, apologies.
But no, you don't have to, because I want to make this point. The ECHR, those letters, 4 letters, literally mean 2 different things.
Do they? What do they mean?
They mean either the European Court of Human Rights or the European Convention of Human Rights. They literally are using 4 letters to mean the same thing. That is designed to confuse you.
And they're both obviously completely different entities, completely different things.
Well, if you use one at the wrong time, then they'll laugh at you.
Yeah.
And again, this sort of shame-based control, this sort of idea that you slip up so people laugh at you.
Right, got
so
it.
So you learn to shut up, you learn to self-censor.
Just in case you make a mistake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And why do we do have the International Criminal Court, the ICC,
and
we do have the ICJ as well. And again, I don't think this is terribly helpful. And a lot of these deeply controlling people will never explain to you what the letters mean.
Right.
So they don't tell you what it means.
It's deliberately confusing and deliberately disingenuous. Fortunately, Essex girls don't care if they get things wrong. We just get louder and hope that nobody will notice.
Which I love, Lois, and that's a form of law that I love. It's called the law of equity, and we're literally the type of law that cares only about substance. We don't give a toss about form. Make a spelling mistake, we don't care.
Right.
It's literally just not how we are.
Got it.
So we need to go back to this idea that substance matters, not form.
That's why I love you so much, Stephen. Thank you. So okay. So the date of the ruling was on the 23rd of July. So it was last month, basically. As I say, it's non-binding. It's advisory. The UK is seen as the driver of the Industrial Revolution. And apparently the ruling was prompted by a group of Pacific Island law students, but it's left us totally open to being sued by absolutely everybody else. But of course, India and China will ignore the ruling. So number one, what's the point of this? And number two, is there any risk that Starmer's going to go along with this nonsense, with the green agenda for Labour?
So I think what happens is it's a very human condition. If you're constantly shamed and you're basically subjected to shame and mockery.
Yeah, like a domestic abuse situation.
You end up with really low self-esteem.
Yeah.
And people with really low self-esteem will do anything. That's why OnlyFans is booming. Because lots of people
Tell me about it, Steve.
We live in a society... we live in a society, well, I'm not, I'm very old-fashioned, but we live in a society which itself has no self-esteem.
No, it doesn't.
So the Chagos ruling by the ICJ was non-binding.
Yeah.
And yet we are giving away £35 billion we don't have.
And it was originally £3 billion, so that's 10 times more.
Well, he lied. Our Prime Minister lied, and our Prime Minister lies almost daily. And we're supposed to just ignore that because we're supposed to have no self-esteem to push back and demand a Prime Minister who doesn't lie.
A very good friend of mine who's very good with numbers worked it out for me that £35 billion for the UK is £2,000 per family. £2,000 per family.
Well, I don't know.
In the UK.
I mean, it's just math. Maths is not my strong point, but again, I don't care whether that's right or not. It's shocking.
Yeah, it is shocking.
We should be a country with self-esteem. We should not be giving away strategic islands that we absolutely need.
Why did we do it?
Betraying the Chagos Islanders.
Can you explain to me why we did it?
No, there is no obvious reason to why we're doing it at all, which again will lead to conspiracy theories. Because when governments start to behave in ways which are obviously irrational, and by the way, the Americans are waking up to this. There was an article in a US newspaper yesterday basically going, what on earth are the Brits doing?
Yeah, what are they doing?
What are they doing?
Well, it's like net zero. It's that a deliberate deindustrialisation. As you know, we're sponsored by the Heartland UK and Europe, and the reason there is a Heartland UK in Europe is because obviously they've done pretty well in the States in terms of anti-net zero and free speech and everything, but they feel that there's a massive job to be done here. So yeah, so is it a communist invasion? What is it?
It's really difficult to say, and I don't, on a fundamental level, I don't think it matters, because we need to go back to doing things and being governed by people who do things which we can rationally understand.
Yeah.
Which are in our self-interest.
Yeah.
We need to have self-esteem and therefore look after our self-interest. It's not selfish to look after yourself. It's not selfish to put a lock on your front door. It's not selfish to not give your food away if you giving your food away means you would be hungry.
Yeah, well, charity begins at home.
Exactly, and we
and our faith as well. I mean, we'll talk more about that later on.
Well, they've tried to shame us out of our faith.
Well, they haven't just tried to shame us; they've legislated against our faith.
And we shall come back to this.
We shall come back to that.
But many of us are simply rebelling and saying, no, very quietly, I have faith.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. So, okay, so after the break, we will be talking about the tech companies that are implicit and involved in monitoring all of our social media, and it's called NSOIT. I don't think I've ever heard of anything quite as Orwellian as that. NSOC was the Orwell thing,
it's also designed to trip you up. Again, a stupid name, so you can't even remember it. You know, and this is all designed for control.
No, absolutely. Thank you. We will see you after the break. Security and Online Information Team, NSIOC, is flagging lawful content on social media platforms about asylum hotels. So that's right, folks, you've got it. Lawful content on social media platforms that deemed to be harmful in some way is being flagged up to the American social media companies and is being basically taken down. So you've got a situation where American media companies are complicit in the censoring of domestic, ungovernment official thought. My goodness, this must be a legal minefield, Stephen. What do you think about this?
Yes, it is a legal minefield, and one of the problems of now is that the law is so bloated and so blown up that actually it is quite difficult for even government to act. Because it leaves itself open to legal challenge. Now, the solution to this, and I'm approached and people sort of suggest that I should become a sort of version of the lefty lawyers who use all of these tools and powers to hurt government.
Okay, so
And-
like a sort of crusader.
Yeah, but a lawfare, I suppose, would
Yeah,
be
well,
the-
that's interesting. That's one of the things that I've been reading about when I've been studying this particular subject. Yeah.
Well, the problem is that I have a very strong Tolkien line that you cannot use the
The
tools.
strong Tolkien line. Do you know what? I love that. Absolutely. And isn't he one of the banned authors that shows that you're far right? Or no, that's C.S. Lewis.
His mate.
His mate, C.S. Lewis.
Who is also very good. And my child has the Chronicles of Narnia.
Well, good.
so-
She's a far right extremist. I love your little girl. She's
But,
she's an extremist, obviously.
But the Tolkien line is that you cannot use the weapon of the enemy to do good.
Okay.
What you must do is destroy the weapon of the
Like
enemy.
steep into their level.
Yeah, we cannot use the legal system to just constantly have fights and tear chunks out of each other. We need to delete vast amounts of law and simplify it so that once again, ordinary people understand what the law is.
Yeah.
And go back to a system we can actually use. I mean, what happens from time to time, legal myths arise. There's a legal myth at the moment. And I don't know, because I think myth is a great word, because you don't know whether it's true or untrue.
Okay.
And some myths may well have been true.
Yeah.
There's a basis to the Argonauts. There are often kernels of truth in myth, and there are an exchange of myth. And I think we live in an age of legal myths. So there's a myth going around.
Just to clarify, that's myth, not meth.
Well, it is also. It's a myth.
I think you need to have some meth if you're dealing with all this rubbish. But anyway,
it's a mess and a myth. But there's one going around at the moment that police forces cannot tweet photographs of subjects because that's against data protection law.
right. So suspects are supposed to. That's not. But I've seen that on numerous occasions. What about those programs? What about Crime Watch when we were growing up?
Exactly.
Surely that's nonsense.
But this myth is going around, and unless you're a lawyer like me, you don't even have the powers to work out whether that is a myth or not.
You can't Google it. Can
If
you?
I wanted to find out if it was true or not, I would have to spend hours of my life reading incredibly boring, badly drafted bits of law in order to work out whether it was right or not.
So is it, just to clarify for our viewers, is it a myth?
I honestly don't know. Because,
If you don't even know, what hope is there for PC Plod? No offence.
well, there's a new statute on data protection law, and I do read a lot of law, as you would expect, but I got fed up by Section 6 because all it does is make declarations. The minister will pass laws that will, make puppies beautiful. The minister will pass a law saying that all kittens will be happy, and this is nonsense law.
Well,
It's
with
just
regard
rubbish.
to this particular law for NSOIT or NSOIT, it's not actually authorised by an Act of Parliament, so there's been no formal judicial actions. So ironically, it may violate Article 10 of the ECHR. But the interesting thing about this, for me, obviously, I'm a friend of Nigel Farage, supporter of reform, although other parties do exist. And the minister responsible, Peter Kyle MP, I don't know if you remember, was the actual minister that said that Nigel was as bad as Jimmy Savile, or that anyone that opposed the Online Safety Act was complicit or as bad as the perpetrators. I mean, what legal recourse would there be for Nigel from that?
Well, I think Nigel could have sued him.
Really?
But
I think it's not. He can't be bothered, can he?
Well, it's an awful lot of effort. It takes a number of years. It costs vastly more.
So is it slander?
Well, I mean, I don't. If I say it is, then he might be able to sue me.
Oh,
for
okay, all right.
But
Could
we
it-
end
could
up in
it
this
be
ridiculous
conceived
situation. But
as
what I
that?
would say is, I just go back to basics and say that I think Peter
Oh God,
Kyle
that's
is,
a bit of a 90s phrase. It
in
makes me think of John Major and Edwina Curry.
Oh, well, don't think about that. Nobody needs that.
No, that's
list.
enough to keep anyone celibate for the rest of their life, isn't it?
thank
Sorry, Stephen. Right, go on.
This is
carry
why
on.
I stay with my beautiful law. Just go back to what you can't be sued for. So a personal opinion, and my personal opinion is that Peter Kyle is a dishonourable man.
Okay.
I don't hold him in any personal esteem. You may, if you wish to. Others may make their own decisions. But I think we have now deeply dishonourable people as ministers.
Well, another thing that they've said is that this law is ostensibly being quoted or used to say that we are targeting foreign misinformation. But that's completely disingenuous because, as you and I know, they're just using this to basically monitor domestic thought crime, in effect, aren't they?
Yes, and you know, the left-wing media spread disinformation all the time, and nobody ever seems to care about that.
Well, no,
and
that's
actually,
fine.
You can't have a ministry of truth. Well, that was the whole point. It was sort of, you know, that point was what Orwell was trying to make. If you even try to do it, it won't work. I mean, this is one of the most depressing things about this sort of communist phase that we're going through, is that everybody who's lived under communism would tell you how awful it is.
People
it's
who fled
rubbish.
yes, absolutely right. People that have fled communism
are
terrified, aren't they?
Well, I've got mums and dads who are friends of my child because, you know, we've got a lot of Eastern European immigration into the town.
Yeah.
So they're like, "What are you doing? This is mad.
You're
It was
crazy.
awful. Don't you realise how bad this is?"
What is the passion, the relationship between radical and I make the massive distinction between normal Islam, obviously, and radical Islamism and the extreme left. How on earth are they bedfellows?
I know.
But how does that work?
This is like Queers for Palestine. It doesn't work on
Well,
any
fortunately,
level.
the Israelis haven't left any tall buildings for them to be thrown off of. That's now.
Well, it's a totally incongruous alliance, and it's really just because they want power.
So, what do you think the plan is? Because if you're going to empower a very specific type of radical Islam from a very specific region of the world, actually, because most Islam is nothing like that. You look at the UAE, it's nothing like that.
No, and I'm a huge supporter of the Abraham Accords. And
Yeah,
I look
absolutely
forward
right.
to peace. And I think the current military situation was largely created to try and stop the Abraham Accords.
I
and it's not
think
gonna
you're
work.
absolutely right. In fact, I think, wasn't it a month or two away from the signing? And then October the 7th happened?
Yeah, but something amazing happened that night when Iran openly attacked Israel.
What was that?
And that was that Jordan and Saudi fired back and shot down
Isn't
Iranian
that
missiles.
marvellous?
That is just perfect.
So this is why, as I say, I make the very clear distinction between Islamic countries and radical Islamism. But the whole bedfellow thing with the extreme left, I still struggle to get my head around it, apart from the fact that they think that it's helpful for now and then we'll deal with it later on, maybe.
Well, I think that is what.
Do you think that's the strategy?
Yeah, so if you go back to Tolkien, it's quite clear that
I love you.
Saruman and Sauron were going to fall out at some point. They were only temporary.
Well, I know, I thought that myself.
And you do get this with evil people. I just think we've stopped talking about or admitting that there are evil people.
Yeah.
We've started to think that experts can run everything and we don't need to be involved. We don't need to take an active part in our society, which is a very, very corrosive and dangerous idea. We really need to go back to the idea that we run our country, thank you terribly much. There was
Well, that's what Brexit was about.
Well, I mean, I take no public position on Brexit, but that I think was the motivation of many Leave voters. There was a very, very evil. Hitler gets all the attention. He is a monster. There are other human monsters. There was a monster in France called Napoleon, and he tried to insult us by calling us a nation of shopkeepers.
That's right.
And we just weren't insulted. Because it's
We
like
thought, well, that's great.
I don't want to be a nation of fancy aristocrats who take themselves seriously. I mean, look
With
at our
huge hats and
aristocracy.
even huger heels.
Well, exactly. Absolutely ridiculous. Whereas look at our aristocrats. They tend to live in something that a large house they tend to call the pile. It almost certainly has a problem in the roof. It's almost certainly freezing.
Yeah.
And they're almost certainly dressed in tweed that, you know, has got holes in it and patches.
And the dogs eat better than they do.
But they're solid people. And that's what we should be as a country. We need to go back to being proud, to not be this sort of highly narcissistic thing.
No.
We don't have to be fabulous. You know, I like to demonstrate.
We're down to earth.
Yeah, well, just be real. Just be hobbits again. Just be hobbits.
Well, I
I
don't know if I would describe June Slater as a hobbit, but we will be joining her after a quick break. She's definitely down to earth, though. Thank you. And welcome back. And I'm so delighted that one of my favourite social media stars and television stars is about to join us from up north down the line. June Slater, are you there?
I am indeed.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So, June, obviously you're a megastar on social media and with GB News and Talk TV, but can you just tell our viewers who might not know you as well, how you got into all of this, how you got so well known on social media, and why you're so pissed off with what's going on?
Well, because I haven't got a lot of time left, have I? I'm at 68 shortly. There's not much left on the sliding scale of life, and I want it to be the best it can be. So I didn't take any notice of politics, and my husband was pulling his face once at Sky News many years ago, about 12 years ago, and he said, I was just being very happy, and he said, "You know nothing, you, do you?" And I went, "What do I need to know?" I just thought life was good.
Yeah,
Fine.
yeah.
House in Austria and EHIX card, pet passport. We had a great time. What's your problem? And I didn't even know there was a migrant camp at Sangatte. That's how bloody clueless I was.
Ignorance is bliss sometimes, but then you got political.
Yeah. When I found out what the EU was really about, which is a basic communist setup, I was that aghast that I was hoodwinked into it. I thought people should know. They should know this. And so I started talking about it on my Facebook page, and then I dared to set one post to public. And I didn't sleep that night because I set it to public, scared to death of trolls. And I've been at it ever since. So I've now got 450,000 followers across social media.
It's amazing, isn't it? Isn't it, Stephen?
I've never monetized. I've not paid for reach. I've not done anything like that, and I don't make any money from doing it. I don't ask for money off people. I take a bit of money off Google on YouTube. I don't mind taking
why
money
not?
Because they don't take any notice of you if you're not a monetized account.
No, that's right.
I've only been doing YouTube about 12 months, but I enjoy it. It's really good.
Well, you're an absolute superstar. So I wanted to talk to you about one of your Facebook posts recently, which I just thought was extraordinary. And it was basically where you were talking about the deep state civil service and about the fact that the opening line was, "The biggest and most important job is to undo what Tony Blair created in the civil service, and a Doge-style setup can do just that." So basically, just to give our viewers an overview, you were saying that it's communist. It's a Marxist setup, and it needs to be undone on the first day if and when Nigel Farage comes into government with Reform UK.
Yeah, it's the singular most important job, because the thing what Tony Blair did that was unique and quite clever, he didn't just come into number 10 and run the country. He changed the civil service whilst he was there. So everyone around the civil service at the top end, basically Blairites, Professor Ferguson, who is modelling Co's lockdown, a Blairite, Ollie Robbins, who was doing double deals for Theresa May during the Brexit negotiations as they sent Dominic Raab out like a patsy. And behind the scenes, really, Ollie Robbins was doing all the business. And then he got, I think, about 20 grand bonus. And now he's the permanent Under-Secretary in the Foreign Office. No
Forever.
worries there then. And all these people swap around, and people think that, they see the ministers and what I'm trying to do, and it's working, because that post that you're talking about, when I looked at my analytics, it had 37,000 views on Facebook.
Wow.
People are wanting to know more and be educated. People haven't got time. They shouldn't need to have to know about politics, but we're in the throes of communism. And it is communism. You can call it stakeholder capitalism.
It's interesting, isn't it, that a few years ago I was talking to Stephen Barrett, the constitutional legal expert, who I'm sure you're aware of, who's in the studio. And, it's interesting that a few years ago saying communism would have made you sound like a crank. And now it's accepted. Don't you think so, June?
Well, I think things have changed. I can actually remember on Facebook when I saw the Union flag, it felt too right-wing. That's how brainwashed we were. When I saw it go up, I thought, oh my God, that's really right wing. And the St. George's flag, you got a 4-day ban if you shared that on St. George's Day on Facebook. That's
Well, at
how
least
far
at least
back
that's
we've gone.
changed.
Yeah, but we're pushing for. I don't think people realise just how well we're doing in this fight. I know we're not in government yet, but the stronghold of the councils that Reform have taken control of. I mean, there's real change taking place. There's actual living, breathing people doing things like rejecting planning for 63 solar farms on council land, and even in my own council, investigating £450 million spaffed away on the bonds market that they knew nothing about. You know, one guy's got a craft shop, the other one's running a chip shop. They thought it was a good idea to go on the bonds market. Hello, you need someone who knows what they're doing. And now that investment is worth 125 million. So we've only lost 300 million, which should have been spent on local services. So I think the other thing people need to know as well as having an understanding of the deep state and the fact that these permanent undersecretaries are so very, very powerful. In fact, they operate with impunity. Quite often, ministers don't know what they're doing. And
Well, before-
it's important.
Yeah. Just quickly, I just wanted to. We've got limited time. I just want to ask you about something else before I quickly go to Stephen about the legal framework for dismantling the power of the civil service and how Nigel Farage would do that on day one. I just want to ask you about something that I know from our WhatsApping back and through the night. I don't know, I'd probably had too much to drink. I'm sure you were completely sober. But we were WhatsApping for hours, weren't we? And you were telling me how annoyed you get at people who are trying to dismantle this chance, as you see it and as a lot of people see it, for reform to actually make a difference. That the Ben Habibs, the other people, that it just makes you so angry.
Well, the thing is, they picked Nigel Farage up about ego, yet two blokes that have been in the job 2 minutes and one didn't even win has got the audacity to call Nigel Farage for having a messiah complex. He has been at it 20 odd years.
Yeah.
And he is the one that made the poster called Breaking Point, where people called him a racist. Breaking Point, it just looks like an everyday occurrence now. So, yeah, I get frustrated about it because whichever way you look at it, you don't have to like these people. You just have to recognise a structure, the only structure that's being created, and it's being done from the bottom up, which is brilliant. Because the more councils you get and the calibre of the people that are in the councils is all important. And this common sense coming back into politics, no daft flags flying.
Isn't it delicious? It's delicious, isn't
it? No stupid flags flying around and just being normal. It's so refreshing. And people, I can understand them having their favourites and people come across well, but trust me, I do a lot of social media. This is not real. Social media out there, I'll tell you what will happen, like a clairvoyant. Write it down. I said it today because I told everybody that Boris would walk it in the 2019 election. And against the pollsters, I was right because I just take notice of the people in my message box.
Yeah.
There will be a landslide victory for reform if it doesn't get bumped off. And Starmer doesn't cause a war.
Don't say that, June. That's
terrible. I wouldn't put it past people. They're horrible. They
have to get through me first.
Yeah. The thing is, this chance is it. This is it. There's no other chance after this. Permanent communism after that.
No, I agree. I'm just going to bring Stephen in, just on your main point, the original Facebook post. So, okay, day one, okay. Nigel's in, door number 10, he's out, Keir's out. It probably won't be Keir at that point. It'll probably be Angela Rayner and the Ginger Growler. But what does he have to do on day one? Does he have to overturn the legislation or introduce legislation so that he can hire and fire in the civil service?
My advice would be to have as extensive a bill ready and written before day one. Because I think there is a fundamental problem for any politician now who genuinely wants change, that they turn to the civil service and the civil service block them. I don't, and I wouldn't trust, so when I talk about legal bloat, somebody's actually typing this,
Okay.
Because this is not, and this is what you realise as you get older. The world is not magic. The world is pretty,
Yeah,
pretty
someone
basic.
is literally sitting there typing.
Somebody is typing this, and they're typing it badly. Now, they're either typing it badly deliberately, or they're typing it badly accidentally.
Yeah.
Either way, Nigel cannot trust them to draft his laws for him.
No, okay.
So Nigel is going to need to have laws, or somebody, whoever it is, and I'm getting past caring, because like June, I just want it to happen. I'm slightly more optimistic than her. I think that communist societies don't work. So I think that they
but
do
it doesn't
sort
stop
of collapse.
people wanting to try and implement them.
No, it
does
doesn't. It doesn't stop. And I'm a bit. I mean, there's a reason I look like Gandalf. I like.
More Tolkien.
But I like to sort of spread hope, and I think that we
you're
can
right.
get there. And one of the worst things we must
So
do.
you're saying the legislation needs to be sorted. So
Day one
reform
ready.
has to bang on it right
yes,
now.
and there's
is
a
what
lot
you're
that needs to
saying.
go. So people are going to, in the next few months, the obvious place people will get to is to say repeal everything after 97.
Okay.
It's actually much more complicated than that. Way more complicated, but it needs to happen.
Can we just bring June back in? June, are you still there? June,
Yeah,
what do you think
still
about
here.
that? Are you in agreement, or the legislation needs to be written straight away?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, don't give up your day job. You might be needed, Steve.
I keep trying to rope him in. He's not. He won't even give me a political view on anything. Actually.
Well, the thing is, I think the business of the civil service not being trustworthy, as you know, a lot of these policies that come out, like stopping the winter fuel allowance, they're called hobby horse policies, devised by the civil service, sat on a shelf, ready to go, for whichever dipstick is dim enough to take them on board. They tried the winter fuel allowance with Rishi, and he refused it. Furlough was off the shelf. Your ministers aren't sat there. I've got a great policy idea. I'm going to come out with it on Monday. We're going to have a storming time. No, that's not what's happening. Someone that you'll never see will bring it forward, and then the minister, depending on how numb they are, and believe me, we've got the thick table in the cabinet at the moment, will release the policy.
Yeah, it is true. They are thick. Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, thank you so much, June. Will you promise me that you'll come back, because you've been absolutely wonderful. Absolutely fantastic. Right, so we are going to our final break. This has been interesting first episode. I think it's gone okay, where we will be talking about a Church of England minister that was banned from being a minister for preaching C of E doctrine to a C of E school, and more besides. Okay, see you after the break. Now, I'm going to tell you something really shocking. A Reverend Dr. Bernard Randall, a Church of England minister, was banned from being a minister and is still banned after 6 years for preaching Christian Church of England doctrine about marriage to Church of England students in a Church of England school. Now, what on earth, I was going to say what the hell, but that doesn't go with the God theme. What on earth is going on with that? So in 2019, he preached a sermon to some students where he said that basically he wanted the students to have some critical thought, not be critical, but have some critical thought about the other options that are being presented in terms of marriage. So obviously the Church of England official doctrine is that it's between a man and a woman. And he wanted students to think critically about it. Now, I'm not making an assessment on whether the Church of England doctrine is what I think is wrong or right. In fact, my priest is in a relationship with a man and would like to get married to a man if the Church of England changed their doctrine. But that's not the point. That's not the point. The point is, should somebody be banned from being a minister for preaching official Church of England doctrine? Legally, morally, and of course, you know, you put it on your thing, you're bisexual, so you've got an interest in the sexual politics side of it as well. What is this about, Stephen?
Well, I'm very old-fashioned, so actually I don't really.
Well, you're not that old-fashioned.
Well, I don't really like the S word, so I probably wouldn't tell people I was a bisexual if I didn't feel that there was a sort of vague need to get it.
Well, the only reason I said that is because it's in your Twitter bio. I'm not outing you on live television.
You're not outing me, and I'm not ashamed or embarrassed.
No, of course not. But I just thought you might have an interesting perspective on it, because I'm not saying whether I think it's right or wrong. I'm just saying this is. In a minute, once I've heard your view, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about how this is being treated and how it's been treated differently to, for example, if an Islamic preacher said a similar thing. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, so I tend to take the view that doctrine, particularly in Christianity, because there's so many words, is rather confused and can be quite irksome. So it's good to have basic principles.
Okay.
One of my basics is that God is love.
God is love.
I think I just sort of accept that as a starting point. Nobody should ever use the fact that God made me bisexual to oppress anyone.
No.
Why should they? Why should anybody have to suffer for that?
It's nobody's business.
I didn't really get very excited about gay marriage either, because we had legal rights. And as long as we had mirroring
civil partnership.
With civil partnership, why, if somebody's got really strong religious views, an imam perhaps say, why would that mosque have to marry two men if they don't want to?
No.
You think we've got to let people be free and to live their life. I'm not going to be ashamed.
A lot of churches did blessings, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. And to be honest, I mean, the Church of England, beaten only perhaps by the Catholic Church, the amount of same-sex attracted people who are priests. So I mean,
hang on a minute, homosexuals in the church. Who'd have thunk it? Oh my goodness!
So it is slightly ridiculous. But if there is a feeling that they genuinely wish to take the biblical view that marriage is between religious marriage is between a man and a woman,
just saying it.
then why can't they?
Yeah.
Why can't they? That doesn't hurt me. That doesn't damage me. I'm not. It doesn't suddenly go, ow, oh, my shoulder hurts because he said that. And if that's his view, that's his view. We have to live amongst people who disagree with us. This is thin-skinned narcissism. It's
absolutely.
Control.
Well, I'll just give you a little bit more information. You can give me some more of your views from the legal standpoint. Following a complaint from an LGBT inclusivity group, the Church of England designated him a risk to children, withdrew his licence to preach, and even after a review by Gregory Jones KC and Dame Sarah Asplin found the church's handling of the house to be egregious and highly unsatisfactory, they still haven't overturned it. What's the legal position there for Dr. Randall?
Well, I mean, it's for him to take specific legal advice. Again, I do worry about using the tools of the enemy to try and achieve good.
I know, but they don't care about using the tools,
No, they don't care about it. And if they're not listening to Dame Sarah Asplin, who's one of our leading judges, then they are, oh yes, and probably one of our finest living legal minds. So we really are into, high up territory now. And if they're not...
Hopefully she's watching.
If they're not paying attention to her, then that is just foolish. I mean, that's just
so an LGBT... inclusivity group.
Let's just analyse that, Lois. So they're doing it on my behalf. They're presuming to take my identity
Yeah, how dare they?
and use it to hurt a man that I don't want to hurt.
Yes.
Because I believe God is love and I don't want to hurt people.
And then they're ignoring two legal minds, one in particular that is at the top of the tree professionally.
Yep, she is an absolute
How dare they?
genius. I mean, who do you think you are?
Who do you think you are? No, absolutely. So, okay, so this segment is about two-tier, basically, whether it's in faith or policing. So this is the first part. Two-tier. Would an Islamic preacher or indeed a preacher from another faith that wasn't Christian be treated in the same way? They just wouldn't, would they?
I don't think
is
they
there
do
a fear of them?
No, I don't, because let's analyse this. This is the Church of England hurting the Church of England.
Okay, so this is self.
So actually,
They're good at that. The self-flagellation, the hair shirts. We're good at that, aren't we?
I think the other faiths would have more common sense than to hurt their own priests.
Got it.
And to punish their own over this. I just think, almost any faith just wouldn't do this.
It's self-harm.
Yeah, and people like the Quakers, who are just like the loveliest, nicest people in the world, they're not going to do this to their own.
I like Quakers.
Yeah, exactly. Or Sikhs, they're just not going to do this to their own. So why is the Church of England doing it to its own? I really do dislike this idea that it's being done in my name.
No.
And if you are part of the letter soup, as I am, you get quite a lot of stuff done in your name that you really don't like.
What do you think about all the, because I've got loads of gay male friends of mine who do not want to be lumped in with they don't mind the LGB, but the TQI, all of the plus, whatever that means, they do not want any association with it whatsoever. And I've had good friends of mine say, this has set us back 30 years. This is like the 80s.
It has set us back in a way, and it is bad. I have absolutely no shame in saying that I do not want to be associated in any way with people who dress as dogs in public as a fetish. That is simply not what I'm asking people to do.
My mate said to me, Tony, I've known him since I was a teenager. He said in the 80s, friends of mine and my partner Lee, husband now, it said, oh, you mustn't be near children, and then that went, everyone thought that was nonsense, but because of this TQI plus minor attracted persons and all of that, suddenly he's getting the same stuff that he got in the 80s again.
Well, I think it's given so one of the things about being same-sex attracted, Lois, is that you feel like less of a man. So you do actually want to show and demonstrate that you are a man. And I've taken a great pride.
Well, do you just like knocking people out?
Well, no, but
I'm joking.
I'll just tell you, I didn't used to drink beer because I thought beer was for straight men. And so I would drink cocktails.
Well, now you're down. I know you're down in the pints.
I will drink beer now because I feel I've reclaimed that. And I think this issue has allowed a lot of gay men in particular and lesbians to reclaim their status as protectors.
Okay.
So you get very openly gay people like, I'm going to fluff his name because I'm middle-aged, but he's James Dreyfus, who was gay and who played these very very camp characters.
Wasn't that good? With Kathy Burke.
Exactly, but he has been so solid on this issue.
He has
where
been
he's
consistent.
shown that he would protect children because even though we are same-sex attracted, we are still men.
Yeah.
And men protect children.
Yeah.
That is what we do, and it's been a nice thing to see. But I don't want the public to ever think that same-sex attracted people are a danger to children.
No. Well, they're clearly not, and that's why it's a shame. But this just leading on from that, totally agree with you. But we've got very limited time. But I just want to cover this topic because I know this, not because I like winding you up, but because it's important. Okay, so again, the legal viewpoint and then the viewpoint as a dad, because I think everyone famously knows you're a single dad to the most gorgeous, clever little girl on the entire planet, who is known as Small. But this particular story, police advised counsellors to suppress asylum status in child rape cases, sources allege. So this is a terrible case where Warwickshire police allegedly advised local counsellors to suppress the asylum status of two men charged with the rape, and this is horrific, of a 12-year-old girl. A 12-year-old girl. Jesus. Because it inflamed or could potentially inflame community tensions. I mean, they were two men identified as Ahmed Malakil and Mohammed Kabir, both 23. They were both in asylum seeker housing.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of individual chief constables are outing themselves as not competent for the job.
Yeah.
And they had a pretty cushy ride because the general public are pretty law-abiding and we weren't really paying much attention to them.
No.
We expected them just to be honest
trusted them.
policemen. We trusted them.
Like Essex Police.
Warwickshire and Essex Police and Surrey Police. I think we now know police forces that we don't trust.
Yeah.
I live under Thames Valley Police and I have to say they do marvellously. So I'm doing two things in public.
That's Morse. That's Inspector Morse.
It's Inspector Morse.
Yeah.
But I do.
You can tell I have no life and live on 80s and 90s television programmes.
But I think we have two policies now, which is to praise the good officers and to point out the bad ones. Now, that Chief Constable in Warwickshire is doing something else that's awful and stupid.
What's that?
Which is that there was a sensible officer who was sent to deliver quite a malicious Stasi-style leaflet to a man who wanted to go on a free and legal protest.
Oh, I saw that, and he was filmed on one of those little camera things.
Exactly. That idiot Chief Constable in Warwickshire is trying to get that sensible police officer. He's trying to punish him for being sensible, commonsensical, and what we all expect a police officer to be. We are going to need to come to the defence of our good officers.
Yeah.
Because the police are the people, and the people are the police. You know,
No, absolutely. It's policing by consent.
Yes, of course it is. And we get that, and we made that public, and we've stated it publicly. But that's true, actually, of any society. Even a dictator will not survive if they start policing without consent.
It doesn't get any better police, though, than Morse and Lewis.
No, well, I think we used to have the best police in the world, and I think we go back to it by getting rid of the College of Policing and stopping having these idiot chief constables who need to be sacked. That is what needs to happen to that officer.
Absolutely right. And thank you so much. And that's all we've got time for. From international courts and Whitehall clangos to the civil service, the message tonight is clear. Unelected, unaccountable bodies are exerting more and more control over our lives, our laws and our thoughts. The system seems geared to protect its own agenda, whether it's silencing a vicar for preaching his own faith or hiding the truth about a crime for fear of inflaming tensions. My sincere thanks to our special guest in the studio, the wonderful, the gorgeous Stephen Barrett, who's buying me a drink afterwards, probably a pint, and to the lovely June Slater for joining us. This has been the first A Bird's Eye View. We will be back next week at 7 p.m. on Wednesday to cut through the spin with Dr. David Starkey, CBE, and none other than Dan Wootton. But until then, good night.